Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Stitch and Thread. My name is Anna and I'm back with yet another knitting podcast for you. I have two finished projects to share, a couple works in progress and some plans and acquisitions in the end. I will also be discussing one knitting technique, or a trick I guess, to improve my ribbing. So let's get going. Before we get going, let's quickly address the elephant in the room, like what I'm wearing. This is a Semper sweater by the Knit Purl girl, and I knitted it earlier this year in Knitting for Olive Merino in color Dusty Artichoke, as well as in some Isager Mohair. I will put the colors in the description below as well as on the screen, so you have an idea if you're interested in this color combination. Let's start with my biggest accomplishment in this podcast, and this is my first ever knitted cardigan. There you go. This is Little Valid Cardigan by Jessica McDonald, an American designer, and while you can see it is quite small, it is a child size 10, which I needed for my daughter. There is an adult version as well, so if you like it, it's a very similar pattern, but obviously grading is for adults. I knitted this sweater in drops baby merino in color lavender number 25. I used for size 10 I used I think 4.5 skeins of that yarn, so not a lot. I have actually still one full skein and a bit left. As you can see, I think the name is very appropriate. So I knitted this cardigan using 375mm needles, I believe it's US size 5 for the whole body. However, I do not own a small circumference needles for the sleeves, and I don't really like magic loop. So what I decided to do, I went down the needle size to 3.5mm needles, I believe it's US size 4, and I used my DPNs. I decided not to do magic loop. So what I did, I casted a few more stitches. I casted for the size 12 and plus extra 4 stitches. In the pattern, you could clearly see that this is quite a fitted cardigan, as well as sleeves are quite small. So I wanted to make sure that my daughter won't be too uncomfortable. She could be a bit tricky. And while the sleeves are quite tight for her, it's still okay. She likes it, it fits her well. So as for the pattern and knitting it, it was quite an easy to follow. I quite enjoyed actually. If you're not a big fan of lace or you want to just dip your toes into it, just like I did, it was a very good idea. I really like, you can see the simple pattern here. Let me see if I can. Very difficult for the camera to adjust. This being my first ever cardigan, I found the absence of any instructions on how to sew the buttons a bit sad. However, I found a really nice tutorial by Purl Soho. I will link it as well. If you're like me and you generally want to know what's the best way to sew a button, if you've never done it before maybe, or you just need a bit of guidance, I found the tutorial really helpful, and as you can see, I was able to sew quite a few buttons after watching it. Also, where the pattern gives you guidance in terms of spacing the buttons for the cardigan, I found a mistake there. It was correct in inches, however in centimeters it was a completely wrong number. I mean, I'm lucky to spot it because I have a measuring tape which on one side has inches, on the other side has centimeters, and I quite quickly realized when I was using it that it just doesn't correspond to the correct measurement in centimeters. I notified the designer, and happy to report the designer was very responsive, acknowledged the problem and told me that it's going to be fixed, even though obviously this mistake went past her as well as the tech editor. Overall, I quite enjoy how Jessica McDonald structures her knitting patterns, and because of the small mistake, I can also see the certain level of customer service there. So I feel quite confident if I will find some other issues, I won't be left alone. And generally, I feel the customer service for me, if I ever need to use one, is a good indicator of a company and whether I would be using the services again. If you're talking about customer service in knitting kind of related world, I must say that I was quite lucky. A couple of designers I had to reach out for guidance, and some yarn shops which misplaced my order. I mean, all the responses were very nice and I never actually had an issue. So fingers crossed it will stay that way. Now, I would like to talk about the trick or knitting technique which I mentioned in the beginning, and that relates to ribbing. As you probably know, a lot of designers tell you to go down the needle size or two when you do your ribbing to make sure it stays nice. However, I noticed when I knit that my ribbing, at least the first row of it, is quite messy. So I've heard once, I can't remember where and when, of a trick. When you go needle size, as you should, but not when you start the ribbing itself, but one row prior to it. And I decided to use this technique on a little violet cardigan, and I knitted one sleeve the regular way when I just went down the needle size and did the ribbing, and the second sleeve was a different way when I just went down the needle size. So it's the same yarn, the same cardigan, but I went down the needle size a bit earlier. So I did one knitted row first in smaller needles and then continued with the ribbon. So you can see the difference. So let me just try and see if my camera will show the difference. So first, I knitted one sleeve with normal ribbing. Let me see if I can. You can see the first row, it's quite messy here. So then I decided to do the second way. And can you see the difference? Let me just show. Can you see the difference? Oops. Yeah, how improved my ribbon is in comparison to the first one. And I don't have to go very far. I noticed when I was putting on the Semper sweater, let me see if I can show you here as well, that my ribbon, again, the first row is really, really messy. It's really, I mean, I obviously stretched it out, but you can still see. And I really like this trick, and I think from now on I will be doing it and using it all the time. My second finished object is a pair of hand-knitted lace socks. There you go, let me just show you. Nice, my camera will cooperate. Yeah. Beautiful. Dun, dun, dun. Here you go. So these socks are Petal drop socks, and the pattern is by Florence Miller. I used my newly acquired Chagoo twist like shorties. The size was 225mm needle or US size 1. However, just to mention that the pattern is written for magic loop technique. However, it's easily adjustable, just like I did. So if you want to use DPNs or shorties, feel free to do so. It is a possibility. Now I've tried these Chagoo shorties. I'm in love, and I think it will be a good addition to my knitting needles. However, the set is expensive, so it will be some time before I acquire one. Back to the socks. I've used a drops Fabel yarn in color 114. It's just kind of a light pearl grey color, and I really enjoy. I mean, I don't know if with this light is quite dark today, if you can see the color, but it's just really nice kind of pearl grey, and I really enjoyed it. I believe it is a superwash yarn, so you can wash the socks. I prefer personally to use non-superwash, but I'm yet to try and see if non-superwash yarn would be robust enough for my sock wearing. Also, one modification I did, because I had to, I was knitting the heel flap here using my DPNs because I needed to go back and forth, and I do not own any DPNs in size 225, so size 1. I used a 2mm needle. I use 2mm needle DPNs, but I can't see the difference. I think it's absolutely fine. Yeah, so really like, let me just show you the second sock. The second sock is actually on my DIY sock blocker. I was really impressed because I felt, because these socks are lace socks, they really needed kind of a blocker to open up the lace. And I had the leftover wire you have for bonsai trees training, so I just quickly in 5 minutes made up the sock blocker using it, and I think actually it worked really well. So if you also do not wish to buy a sock blocker, and it seems to be quite expensive, like £20 here in the UK, that's what you can do. Works really well. So well done me. Also, as socks go, as you can see, they're still quite new. I cannot report on variability. However, I knitted size 2, slightly larger size, even though I'm 36 and a UK size 4, so quite a small feet, but I guess my feet are reasonably wide. So the fit was pretty good. So can't complain. And if you haven't knitted socks before, this pattern also comes with a free YouTube tutorial by Florence Miller, so you can always go and check it out. Now let's talk about what do I have on my needle. And the first project, and the new project as well on my needles, is a Sorrel sweater by Woolen Pine. It's a lovely round yoke design with a beautiful kind of motif at the yoke, and you use a combination of 2 yarns, 1 fingering and 1 mohair. So what I use Mamie and Florrie 4-ply merino and bamboo blend. So let me just show you first the yarn. This beautiful color, and I combine it with a mohair by Rowan. It's Kidsilk Haze. Don't really actually have the new one, sorry, but it's just this kind of beautiful color. It's color Gem or 692 by Rowan. And so let me just show you what I've done. So there you go. Lovely. Isn't it exciting? It's a beautiful combination. I'm a bit nervous, like this kind of bright color is a bit scary for myself, but I kind of really like this combination with the mohair, so I think it's gonna be fine. The suggested gauge by the designer is 20 stitches by 28 rows using 3.75mm needles. However, I've made a swatch first with 3.5mm needles, and I got 24 stitches and 30 rows, so you would think I should kind of go up the needle size, and I did try that. I made another swatch using 4mm needles, much larger, but I was so adamant that I didn't really like the actual swatch. The fabric was too flimsy, it was too gapey, so I instantly realized I'm not going up needle sizes at all. And if you look at the projects for this sweater on Ravelry, you will see that apparently a lot of people have this issue. So if you're thinking of making this sweater, please beware. A lot of people, I noticed, they cannot get gauge, and what they do, they just go a couple of sizes up, and it seems to be working fine for them. So that's the way I decided to go, because I didn't want to go up needle sizes. So my only question was, judging by my bust circumference, I needed to make size 1. However, because of my gauge, I was trying to do some maths, and I was between like 2nd and 3rd size. However, because it is superwash yarn, I thought that the best thing I could do is to try size 2, so slightly smaller, to allow for some growth later on, and obviously try on while I knit. So as you can see, I've actually did quite a bit of yoke. I think I'm on a third charge. It's just a little bit left to go. See if I can actually put it on. Let's see. There you go. So it does look fine. It looks like I need a little bit to grow before I split for sleeves. So it looks like, you know, it doesn't look small at all for me, that you kind of might have expected. So I'm quite happy with that. Happy with the yoke. Also, just bear in mind that it seems that this pattern is again by American designer, and it is seem to be aimed more towards American knitters. And why do I say that? Well, there is guidance in terms of needles, like in millimeters, and some measurements are in centimeters. A lot of measurements actually are only in inches. So as I said before, I do have a measuring tape. I can, you know, it's not a big deal for me. I've been living in the UK for a while, and I'm used to this idea when you kind of need to convert from inches to centimeters. But you know, if you're somewhere maybe in Europe and you're not used to it, it might be a bit annoying for you. Also, there is quite a lot of purling in this yoke. So as you can see, let me just show closer. Yeah, so there's a lot of purling here, and with the pattern motif, you actually not only you need to purl, but you need to purl sometimes through the back loop. So for some people, it can really hurt their hands. If you're really adamant that you do not want to do any purling, this pattern might not be for you. However, the purling should finish by the time I split for sleeves and body, because I remember reading in the pattern that you actually needed inside out, so I would be doing just like knitting in the round as body goes. So I'm looking forward to the time. As for the yoke itself, this motif, it looks, I think, you know, at least it looked to me before I started knitting it, quite complicated, but it is not the case. It is really simple and actually addictive. So, you know, it's that situation when you just want to get to the next kind of part of the motif. So I highly recommend. I really enjoyed making it, and actually a bit sad that I'm towards the last stitches for the motif. Overall, very excited to work on this project. Also, this pattern comes with some video support, so the designer actually gives you some additional guidance in terms of how do you knit the motif and some other additional bits and pieces for this sweater, so you're not left alone. And I actually really enjoyed both the video tutorial as well as actually reading the pattern. So I think that will fly off my needles quite quickly. Another work in progress that I have is the Winter Sunrise Beanie by Teti. Lutsak, let me show you. Yeah, so this is kind of quite heavily cabled beanie. You have some kind of like bumps as well to do, so it is quite fun. I have a bit of a problem with this pattern. I actually knitted half of this hat, I believe beginning of spring, but it got warmer, so I lost any mojo and just decided to put this project into hibernation. However, now winter's coming, it's properly autumnal weather. As you can see, like, it's quite dark outside, which is why I have all these lights behind me. And so I decided to get this project back going. However, I don't know, either my daughter grew her hat over summer, but it was very, very snug on her, and basically I had to frog the whole thing and start over. However, what I did, while I saw in my notes that I was using 5mm needles for this hat, I decided to go to 5.5mm needles and do the same adult size for her, because she's getting to the age of 10, so her head circumference is, I think, 1 centimeter smaller than mine. It still is quite snug. Let me just see if I can try. Not very good. Yeah, like this. So it is quite snug still, but I think it should work for her quite well this time. At least I tried, and it does work. So what to say about this pattern? Halfway there again. I'm using Puno by Gepard Garn. So these are leftovers. I mean, this is blown yarn. I don't know if I can show it. This is a blown yarn. I've used this for Celine's sweater, Celine Junior, for my daughter. I'll put a picture. It's a gorgeous sweater, and I had just 1.5 balls remaining, so I thought the beanie of the same color would be a good idea. So this is just the first leftover part, soon to be gone, but I have 1 full ball, so I'm sure I have plenty to keep me going to finish this pattern. So while I've done so much, I have decided to try, possibly because it's like blown yarn, and I feel we have quite a lot of wind here in the UK, so I will try to line this hat with the fleece. So use like fleece lining. I've never done it before, but I looked up on YouTube. It seems to be possible. I ordered some fleece. It's yet to arrive. So it's still a lot to do with this beanie, but hopefully it will be done quite soon. Now we're slowly moving towards plans and acquisitions, and the first is the pattern with unpronounceable name. Let me just try to say it. Raunioiset Junior Cardigan by Suvi Lyytikäinen. I do apologize straight away if I butchered that. Just cannot say that. Anyway, it is a top-down cardigan worked flat in garter stitch with nice motif and some I-cord edging. So the inspiration apparently for this cardigan was a fan species called Maidenhair Spleenwort. While I'm planning to knit this cardigan for my daughter again, she's gonna have a lot of cardigans. This is apparently a pattern, like a part of a collection, which includes a lot of different patterns. Apparently there is an adult version of this cardigan, there's a headband, I think I saw mittens, and even a pair of socks. So if you like the motif, the possibilities are endless. The suggested yarn is Sadness Garnstudio, which is a DK weight yarn, and it is a blend of cotton and merino. I decided to use something different. I'm going to use Lanagato Merino Coat. It is also a blend of merino and cotton. What does it say? It doesn't actually say here how much. Oh, it does. 53% merino, extra fine, and 47% cotton. There you go. So let me just show you. It's this lovely navy blue color. I really like this color. I really like the feel. It's quite soft, so I think my daughter will like it. Just last night I've just started. I really wanted to try this yarn, and I've started my swatch, so it has to be, as I say, it is in garter stitch, so that's why my swatch is like this. Yeah, there you go. Quite nice. I quite like how it knits up. Still very soft. We'll see how it behaves after blocking as well. That's my plan number 1. My plan number 2 is a Palina pullover by Teti Lutsak. So another pattern of hers. I really admire this designer. And for this, I specifically had a chance to go to London a couple of weeks ago. So I finally visited Loop. It's a very famous yarn shop in London, and I really wanted to see the yarn in person because I had a couple of color combinations in mind for Palina pullover. So I wanted to see which colors would suit me or not. Even though again it was another great day, and you know, I'm not a big fan of artificial light, I could clearly see one color combination which I thought should look quite good on me. So let me show you. So I went with Ulisse yarn. I believe it's De Rerum Natura. Yes, Ulisse. So this is a color combination. Let me show you. Yes, so 2 yarns. One is in color Poivre Blanc, excuse my French, and the second is in color Caramel. So these two, you can see, I think these 2 colors should look good on me. Tell me if it's not the case. But I guess it's too late to return. In any case, I went for this color combination, so hopefully Palina pullover will be on my needles soon. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do it. It would help to grow my channel. I'd also love to know what you have on your needles. Maybe there are some projects that I'm knitting that you've already finished or planning to do. Let's chat in the comments and see you next time. Bye.